Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Housekeepers podcast. Dare I say, the cleanest hour in podcasting. I am your host, Ralph Peterson. You can hear me. Let me make sure I can hear me as well. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so super excited to have my friend Adam Povlitz. Did I say it right? Povlitz.
Close enough.
Povlitz. I always want to add a vowel, so it's
Yes,
Povlitz.
everybody does it.
Not Povlitz.
And I'm from South Florida, and when I was a kid, it was Adam Publix, the grocery store. So
That is super funny. I would not have gotten Publix. Povlitz.
I could only be so fortunate to be the heir to the Publix throne.
I hear, my last name's Peterson, and so there's a Peterson nut, like Peterson cashews. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's pretty famous up here anyway. Like every grocery store, every convenience store has like these hot cashews, and they're called Peterson cashews. And I don't know how much money you make selling cashews, but it seems like a pretty good business,
Nice.
Everyone's always like, oh, the cashew. I'm like, no, well, it's not. We're the opposite of the cashew franchise is what we got going on over here. So you grew up in South Florida, huh?
Yeah, originally from Michigan, but moved down here when I was a kid.
How old were you when you moved?
Like 5 years old.
Oh, so you don't even remember Michigan.
I'm technically Floridian at this point, just Floridian by time spent.
Why did your family move there?
My dad was actually in like a traditional commercial cleaning business with his brothers, with my uncles in the Detroit area for, probably 15 years or so. And their claim to fame is they actually cleaned the Pontiac Silverdome for a while before, obviously, it was demolished, but years ago. And I guess there was a little bit of a falling out with the brothers at that time. You work with your family for too long. Sometimes it's not what you hope it would. And so my dad, my grandmother, his mother, lived down in the South Florida area. She was getting older. She was sick of the Michigan cold. And so she moved down here. We went down to visit, and he goes, why the heck am I, dealing with all these? I don't know if you're from the Midwest or anyone's from
the East Coast. The East Coast.
The Midwest. There's especially Michigan with all the lake effect. There's like 8 out of 10 gray days. Whereas when you're in South Florida, I mean, 9 out of 10 are sunny days, too sunny even. And so he goes, let's get the heck out of here, and just kind of uprooted us, and we moved to South Florida, I think under the guise of taking care of his mother.
Right. Well, mom needs us.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so, he and so he kind of moved us down, and I've been down here for the most part ever since.
What do you mean? What is, and forgive me for not knowing this, what is traditional cleaning? What do you mean?
When I say, so because we're in Anago Cleaning Systems is commercial cleaning franchising, we always make that clear delineation between here's how the franchise model works, and here's how a traditional cleaning.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So growing up in South Florida, what's that like as a kid?
I have no complaints. I mean, it was fun. It was I don't, what, and thinking about it, I don't have a ton of like memories from when I was a little kid. That means I'm getting older.
Yeah, maybe. Or it was uneventful, right?
Uneventful. Yeah, exactly. It was uneventful.
Yeah.
Pretty typical, going through all the schools and everything like that. And then ended up going up to University of Florida, go Gators, to college, and have kind of been bouncing around.
Did your dad open another commercial cleaning company in Florida?
So he actually worked when we first moved down. He actually worked for what we would consider a competitor now, and for a very brief period, just kind of moved down. He goes, I need a job, and worked for a competitor, and they were in franchising. They were actually kind of one of the first to do commercial cleaning franchising. And within literally like very few months, he goes, I can do this better, and and left them, and started Anago, as a franchise style business. And
that had to be like 20, 30 years ago.
It was 89. It was
wow.
1989.
Yeah.
When
yeah,
we moved down in 89, it was by the end of that year that Anago was incorporated.
Wow, that's so fun. What about as a kid? Did you work at all? Did you play sports? What did you do after high school? During high school, I mean.
I worked. I worked at Publix, ironically enough.
You're trying to get it. My name is in here already.
Yeah, exactly. I worked at Publix. I was, I've never been super athletic until maybe I got more athletic as I got older, or maybe everyone else just slowed down. But no, I mean, I think I wrestled a little bit freshman year, and then it wasn't for me. And I started working at Publix.
What did you do at Publix?
Literally, I mean, all of it. I was one of the bad influence kids. So I would, I was hired as a bag boy, a bagger. But I would always sneak off and hang out with the stock clerk. So I just thought that was way more fun. And so they actually, because I did it and actually did a good job, they actually go, we're going to promote you to keep you here. And they made me a cashier, so you can't leave because you got customers. Like, okay.
Smart. Yeah,
and then eventually I was promoted to stock clerk there before I left for college.
My wife has a great story. She went to work for a grocery store called Wegmans, which is popular here in New York. And she was a cheese counter girl. Yeah, she worked at a cheese counter, and they liked her so much that they gave her a scholarship for college.
Wow.
And so it wasn't a lot of money, but it was something, it was enough. And so she got a scholarship from the grocery store. And then every summer she'd come home from college, she'd still be working at the cheese counter, it just, to your point, like when you're an employer and you recognize you have a good worker and you want to try to entice them to stay put or to come back, right? Like, how do you do it, right? So a promotion, a scholarship, something just to keep you coming back, Very smart. So how long did you obviously did that just through high school, and then you went to college?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Florida State?
No, God, no, don't say that.
No, not Florida State.
That's sacrilege. No, interestingly enough, I went to University of Florida. And then I got my MBA from University of Miami, and then my wife went to Florida State.
Oh no.
So I mean, it's a very interesting thing that happens on Saturdays in our home. Total rivalry, I teasingly say to her when I introduce people and say something like that, I'll go, well, my wife went to Florida State, my money went to Miami, but my heart went to Florida. Just, wait a minute, your heart didn't come with me?
Well, it is now, but
right, exactly.
Yeah, that's super fun. What did you study in college before you went for your MBA?
Business. I was a business, and specifically finance was my major. I chose it, ironically enough. I chose it because when I was in high school, I just hated reading. And I go, my mom said, oh, you need to be a lawyer, be a doctor. And I deliberately chose the business college because of two reasons. Number one, it had less reading than the law school, and it had no foreign language requirement. I hated my foreign language stuff that I had to learn in high school, and so I deliberately chose business because no foreign language requirement, less reading than the lawyers, and in just the ultimate, irony loves fools or something. I mean, literally, 90% of my job is reviewing legal documents and reading manuals. And I'm in, and particularly in the franchising side, a heavily Hispanic industry. And so literally half the work we have to do in English and Spanish. So, I mean,
that's so
I got out of it for 4 years and now it's my life.
Yeah, now it's your life. I wonder why didn't your dad pull you into the family business sooner? How is that?
He didn't actually really push on that until, gosh, I finished at Florida. I got into investment banking for a little bit because I was a finance major. Did it for a while, was working just ungodly hours. I mean,
you
you're
like
working,
that though? You like
no,
investment? No,
no.
I can't imagine. I wouldn't
It's
either.
it's cool to say like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an investment banker. Oh, hello.
Titles are fun. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But I mean, I was working 90 hours a week. I mean, it was insanity. It was, you'd get a phone call on a Sunday and they go, hey, we need and you're the low man on the totem pole. Oh, we need a pitch book put together for such and such client. And oh, we need it by 8:30 Monday morning. And now your Sunday shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for a very brief amount of time. And I go, I'm either, doing this wrong or too stupid. And so maybe I need to go get more education. And that's when I enrolled in Miami to get my MBA. And then I actually went to, after that, I went to work for IBM. I stayed in finance. I was corporate finance.
Wow.
Moved to New York, White Plains area.
I live right. I used to live in White Plains area,
okay.
Westchester. Yeah. I now live on Long Island. So yeah, I'm right there.
Okay. Worked there and was there for a little over a year. And, my story about, because I've been asked this a few times now, that they're like, well, Fortune 100 company, like, why would you ever leave? I happened to be hired during one of those hiring waves in 2008. They were really growing. And then in 2009, as you can imagine,
fell apart. Yeah.
Everything fell apart. And I wasn't, here's the craziest part. I wasn't one of the people, I was actually on the team, who was working through the who was being laid off. I didn't have employee names. I had employee numbers. That's what everyone was. Everyone was an employee number to me. And we were going through and determining who got what and who we were going to ask to retire early. And it just, to see that, to go through that. And, I was grateful to not be on the team and not on the chopping block, I guess. But when you see that, maybe next go around, I'm not on that team. I'm, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know, the light went out in me on them. And I don't blame them. It's a great company to work for. I have nothing negative to say about them, but I also, when you're a company that employs hundreds of thousands of people, everybody is to some degree a bit of a number. And so I was down for the holidays, visiting my family, and my dad goes, you got to check out this Anago thing. I think I got the tiger by the tail. At the time, I think they had maybe.
Say it again.
Sorry,
I lost you there. Say it again.
My phone's ringer.
Oh, I'm like, where'd you go?
Everything on Do Not Disturb except the landline. There's always something you forget.
Always something.
He said, come check it out. I think they had around somewhere in maybe 15, 18 master franchise territories sold at that point.
Pretty good.
They were growing. And it was 6 months later that I ended up joining. And of course,
now, 2010.
This is end of 2009 that I started with Anago.
Okay.
And he goes, congratulations on leaving your highfalutin finance job. Your first job at Anago, you're going to be a telemarketer by day and a franchisee's assistant by night, cleaning a daycare.
I love everything about this. And you know what? Truth be told, I used to work for a company that is one of the largest management cleaning companies that serves healthcare, which is what I do. I work in healthcare, and everybody who works for that office, that corporate office, or it doesn't matter position, you go into finance, you go into collections, you're a secretary, whatever the position, you start out with a mop bucket and a rag, and you learn first and foremost what everybody does here. Like, hey, we want you to know what everybody does, so there's no mistaken. We are a cleaning company. We are a professional cleaning company, and we don't want to shy away from it. We just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And so I think it's the greatest thing that you started. By day you're making calls. By night you're running this broom.
Right. And it was brutal. I'll be honest, because it was. That was before they had Diaper Genies, okay? And so you would literally just have to take a deep breath, and there's hundreds of diapers just tie it off as fast as you can, and then all right. You know what I mean? It was rough.
You know what's fun about that is I was talking to somebody recently, and they said that one of the first things they do when they get a new client, and they clean daycare centers too, and they said they go through and they buy them all brand new Diaper Genies. Like
Yeah.
they don't even if you have one, I'm going to make sure it's fine, it works, it's good, because it is the difference maker. It's so funny. It's so funny. Sign here. All right, here's your parting gift. Here's your Diaper Genie.
Exactly. But yeah, I worked through. I mean, so he had me work through every position. I did that for a little while. Then I moved to like the actual outside sales piece, to operations, customer service type stuff. And it was about a year before I moved over to the corporate office. And then from there, it was like, okay, you're. I think my title was like franchise developer, which I don't even know what that means. It basically meant, and I was in HR, which I don't know why. I don't have any background in HR, but it was
had all that firing experience.
Yeah, but he was like, I want you to get a job description from everybody, and that was actually very helpful.
Yeah, that's smart.
I got a job description from everybody. We definitely did find over time, some people that maybe weren't a great fit. But overall, my role was to basically travel the country and meet with the existing master franchise base that we had, learn about them. And I'm a kid, right? I'm at that point, I'm 27. And then some of these people had been with them for, at that point, 5 years, 8 years, something, maybe even 10. And so it's like, what the heck do I know? Mm-hmm. And so I had to approach it kind of like a servant leadership role. Like, what else can we do for you? How do we make this better? How do we, what else, how can we help you? And then it just, now I've been here, is it 12 or 13 years now? I think it's 12 years. God, you gotta, yeah, whoa.
Housekeepers podcast.
now I've been, I've been here now for 12 years, and the joke is the previous president. He was born in West Virginia, and then he went to school in Texas, and so he had this real like heavy country accent, and then he would speak in these kind of euphemisms of stuff where you're like, but like that doesn't make any sense. And he would always joke around saying, when and I'm going to butcher his accent, but it really lends to who he was. He would go, when I left West Virginia, my family told me to go to hell or Texas, and I didn't want them to think I was a chicken, so I moved to Texas. And you're like, what? Like, what? But he called me. He goes, when they promoted me to president, and he finally retired. He got me a business card holder, and it said PUDSOBIC. And I go, what is this? And I'll try to keep it clean for your podcast here.
Please do.
But it was poor, unfortunate, dumb SOB in charge.
I have a friend from Argentina, and I remember he came up with a turn of phrase once that it was well, that's just fresh as lettuce. Fresh as what? Lettuce. Why is that a statement? I never heard that statement in my life. It's fresh as lettuce. Apparently that's a thing. I don't know. So it's funny when you hear those little turn of phrases, right?
PODSOBIC. That is the head of every cleaning company.
Yeah, there you go. What did your mom do? Are you the only child, or do you have siblings?
No. I have a sister. She's also actually involved in the business. She got into it a lot earlier than I did, but she was she was the wild child. I was the nerd.
Is she older or younger?
She's older. She's a few years older than me. She got into the business and was working at the South Florida master franchise, just working in the accounting department. And she got into it before me. And that was just but she was always, she was the wild one. I was the book smart nerd. And it works out really great, long term to be a nerd, because it turns out nerds are going to rule the world now with all this technology. So, but
true story.
But no, but yeah, she's in the business. My parents actually separated when I was like in elementary school. So my mom was with the business a little bit way back in the day, but not since like, I was like 10 years old or something.
Yeah. What does she do?
Her and my stepdad actually own a plumbing company.
Yeah, so you've kind of been around this entrepreneurial spirit your whole life. You've been around people who really are movers and shakers and gutsy people. You have to be gutsy if you want to be an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah. No, it's something that, it's funny. I was in a fraternity in college, and I was totally happy just partying, and I became an officer. I became an officer purely so that I was their VP of finance of a fraternity. I mean, like, what does that even mean, right? Buy the beer,
balance the checkbook.
Right. And I did it as like, okay, a resume booster type of thing. And I had one of my fraternity brothers say, hey, you should run for president of the fraternity. And I had never considered it. And then they said that, and it was like their belief in me at that random moment made me go like, maybe I should. And I did. And I won. And I've had, I don't know, I've just every little thing in me. Anytime I get to any corporation or any business I've worked with in the past, I'm always going like, okay, what's the next step? How do we go somewhere else? How do we go a little further forward? And don't get me wrong. It's just as much a curse as it is a blessing. I mean, I'm that type A person who doesn't stop, who doesn't shut off. I'm when my employees are like, please don't respond to this email because I know you're on vacation. So it's a good thing, and it's sometimes creates a little bit of conflict in the home, but we are who we are, I guess.
I agree. I think it's one of those necessary qualities if you want to be in the position you're in. I've never met a business owner or a president who doesn't want to win.
Right.
I just never met them. Maybe they exist. I don't know. Maybe that's not true for business owners, but definitely for presidents. There are a lot of business owners I can't get to answer the phone, which makes no sense to me. I don't understand how you don't answer your phone.
I think don't get it. Well, I think, that kind of, that's a kind of a perfect segue back to so I can give a plug.
Please do.
That is what our whole model is designed around with the franchise aspect of it, right? Because what's the, the statistics on small businesses are just awful, right? It's
terrible. Success rate's terrible.
Yeah, 50% fail in the first year, and then of the remaining 50, like 90% of those fail within the next 3 years. It's pretty bad. Like if you just did it from a pure statistical, you'd be like, nobody should start a business. But the kind of the question that we hypothesize is like, well, why? Why is that? And what we kind of uncovered, at least, I don't have any like raw data or anything like that, but just anecdotally and meeting with people and having conversations, it was, someone goes, hey, Ralph, you're a phenomenal cook. You should start a restaurant. And you go, yeah, you're right. Great. And you go for it. Right. And someone gives you that push and you go for it. Or, hey, maybe you made some money one summer mowing lawns. And you go, I'm going to start a landscaping business. And great, good for you. Congratulations. There's nothing more American than giving it a shot of owning a business, right? But what the heck do you know as, Ralph, the restaurateur, about, staffing, spoilage, turnover, recruiting, you know what I mean? Like all of these advertising, marketing. And it's like, what do you know about that? You don't. And so that's where a lot of times people know how to do like the operational side of the business, but don't know the business side of the business.
It's funny you say that because I'm in a Facebook group where there's a lot of that. There's a lot of first-time entrepreneurs.
Right.
They're cleaning 3 houses. One of them is a family friend. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they are struggling with how do you get to the level where you hire an employee? right? How do you get to the level where you hire 2 employees, 3 employees? And the answer, which is very hard generally to explain because people don't understand it, but the answer is you have to stop cleaning and start running a business, right?
Yeah.
There is no way to be the cleaner and the business owner.
Right.
You could be the cleaner and you can get a couple of bucks and you can get a couple of homes. But if you want to run a business, your business is no longer cleaning. Your business is hiring others to clean.
Right.
So then your business is hiring others, right?
Right. Yeah.
Getting contracts and the outreach and the marketing and the collections and the, collecting money. Can we talk about something even more difficult, right? Getting paid is a bear.
I would say in the commercial side, it's not horrible.
Okay.
Just because we do, we're more, it's businesses. We set everybody up. We deliberately, over the last couple of years, moved everything to where it's like, let's set up ACH or something like that.
Smart.
And in the commercial world, for some reason, like the sky could be falling, but people pay their janitor. Like our collections anytime we're lacking collections, it's from lack of effort, not.
What is, if I can ask, what is your DSO? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. But I know from a national standpoint, less than 1% goes uncollected every year.
Wow.
It's very small amounts of money.
In healthcare, again, the industry I run commercial cleaning companies in nursing homes, hospitals, that kind of thing. And it's rare. Like there are a lot of places, a lot of healthcare facilities that do, like you say, pay, regularly on a clock. But still, DSO, days service is outstanding, which means how long does it take you to collect money? For those who don't know what DSO is, if you're at 45 days, you're doing pretty good.
Right.
Which 45 days 10 years ago was a crime. 45 days, you'd want that around 30 days or even 0 days. You get paid before service is rendered.
So we deliberately, I guess here's the nickel worth of free advice for anyone. We pre-bill. So I bill, I've built September services. I build it at the beginning of August.
Smart.
And then we really push heavily going digital. And so we have an ACH program where a client can sign up. They get a discount for signing up. And then, but for September services, the absolute latest day you can decide you're going to pay for September services is September 30th. So we don't even allow it to get to, the 2 weeks into the following month. And that has sped up our cash flow tremendously.
Very great.
That combination. There's always going to be the little old lady who wants to pay by a check still. But it's 2021 and most people, you go, listen, I'm going to fill this out. We'll take the deposit every month. It's automatic. You get an email invoice. You know what I mean? Most people go, yeah, I don't want to deal with the paper.
Yeah. I like the ACH model too, which is automatic deposit, like direct deposit for checking account. I like that you're given a discount, like an incentive, like, I'll give you a couple of points back and just to make it easier for all of us. And it becomes a no brainer.
Right. Yeah.
Credit cards on the other hand can be a little challenging because of the fees associated with it.
Yeah. And we avoid credit cards like the plague. Unless a customer is absolutely adamant that it has to be credit card. And the laws are changing now, right? It used to be, if it was $500, it was $500, regardless if you paid by credit card, check, cash, didn't matter. Now, some states, not every state, but some states, oddly California being one that was okay with all of this, they go, there is a cost, of paying by credit card. So we'll allow you to say, look, here's the credit card markup, basically. But it's still, of course, if a customer goes like, I'm not going to pay that, $8 or whatever, you just go, you have to just swallow it. It's not worth $8.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there's a cost to doing business, right? And that includes handling money, collecting money, paying out money. There's a cost to all of that. And I think we're all wrestling with that right now. I know that it's a weird thing, just in personal life, I have been weaned off of cash. And I haven't been weaned off of cash because I wanted to. I did it quite against my will, kicking and screaming. And every place was just making it easier to use a credit card or a debit card and less easy, or not less easy to use cash, just way more convenient to use a credit or a debit card.
Yeah.
And now they're charging extra if you use a debit or credit card. And I feel like they suckered me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wait a minute, 10 cents more per gallon of gas if I use a credit. I didn't want to use a credit card. I didn't put the machines out here with, you know what I mean? Like, what's happening?
I'm one of those guys that's a sucker for the points, right? The travel points and stuff like that.
Me too.
Just because of my work, I have to move around the country a lot, and so I'm like Marriott, whatever, Elite, and I mean, I have a bunch of I'm like 1 year away from being like platinum for life or something.
Nice.
You know what I did? I mean, don't tell anybody, but I was like, all right, now I gotta go get a Hilton Amex because I want status with those guys too, right? I'm like,
I appreciate that. I think that there's and again, talk about a business model. That's a smart business model on the part of Amex or on the part of Visa or whatever,
right.
or Marriott to offer Delta to offer those incentives to use it. It's just on us to pay that bill. It's okay to use the Amex, but pay it off. If you don't pay it off, then all of a sudden you're paying for your cash.
Yeah. And that's something. We could all rewind all the way back to like, why isn't like learning how to use a credit card and balance a checkbook a high school class? I mean, That's a much longer winded argument of like, why, we're not doing a lot to prepare people for the real world of like, no, that's not free money. It doesn't you don't just swipe it and look away. Like, no, the bill's going to come due and you have to pay that.
There's a guy named Brian Tracy, and he's a professional speaker, motivational speaker, sales guy, very popular, very, very well known. And he has this saying. He says, if they had Wealth 1 and Wealth 2 in high school, I would have taken it. That's the thing that's missing. There's no classes on wealth. There's no classes on money.
How to invest in your 401k, how to save. Like seems like kind of crucial stuff. And but here we are with a government that spent how many, $50 trillion or $40 trillion. Like
I don't even know what that number means. Like,
it doesn't even,
it's so far above.
It sounds like it's from a space movie. Oh, there's 40 trillion simoleons, like.
I remember my dad was a huge fan of space, and in that he loved to just lay on the grass somewhere in the dark and just look at stars and talk about everything. And there's a spacecraft. I can't think of the name of the spacecraft at this moment, but there was a spacecraft that was launched in the late 70s, and it's still traveling right now. But it's they had to shut off its cameras to restore whatever. But so here's a statistic that he told me, and again, it just hurts my brain. Right? So he says that the spacecraft is traveling at 40,000 miles a minute.
Wow!
It is by itself. It's no fuel in it. It's not being propelled. It's just traveling 40,000 miles a minute. And it would take something like, 15 million light years for it to touch a star. Like, there's no chance. Space is so big. There's no chance for it to run into anything.
Right.
Like what? Like, it's just imagine that, the type of numbers. You're like, what's a light year again?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. So Anago is the company that you guys started. It's a franchise company. And man, I'm so interested in you keep calling them master franchises. Are there two different types of customers?
Yeah. So when most people think of franchising, you kind of mentally go to the 2-tier, like McDonald's corporate, and then the people who own restaurants. Ours is kind of by design a 3-tier model. So there's the corporate office, then what we call a master franchise, and that's someone who kind of owns a specific territory, usually by county lines. So here in South Florida, the master territory is Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Where did you say you were located out of?
I'm in Long Island.
Long Island. So the guy who owns Long Island, he owns Queens County and Nassau and Suffolk.
Yeah, I'm in Nassau.
Okay. And in that territory, the best way to explain it is, so kind of going back to what I was telling you about So, what do you know about restauranting? You know how to cook. A lot of cleaning's not rocket science. Okay. I mean, there's definitely better ways to do things. There's better equipment. There's best practices, but like the ability to clean is not rocket science.
The business of cleaning is challenging, but
the
cleaning, to your point,
right.
is
The
not.
business of cleaning is where is the difficult part. So what our model does is it actually takes the kind of the cleaning and the business of cleaning and separates them into two franchise opportunities. And so the master franchise is essentially doing kind of the easier way to explain it to maybe the lay person who's outside of cleaning is like the day job and the night job. You say, listen, the master franchise does the day job. So, right, they have to understand the sales, marketing, they're hiring salespeople, they have the website, they're invoicing the customers, they're collecting the money from the customers. But that's it. They don't actually ever get into cleaning. And so they're now recruiting unit franchisees. And these are people who are coming in and going, look, I'm looking to make, a couple bucks on the side. Maybe it grows into something bigger. They get in and they learn the equipment, the chemicals. They have, they're taught, at least best practices in terms of how to recruit employees. But they don't have to worry at all about like, how do I get my next client? They can go to the master franchise and say, hey, I'd like 2 more clients, please. And of course, yes, there's a fee to it. We call it a commission fee. But on the positive side for the unit franchise, they don't have to have a dedicated sales staff, a dedicated website, a dedicated accounting collections person, any of that, because the master franchise office does all of that stuff for them.
It's kind of like having a bunch of
it separates the two.
It's kind of like having a regional office.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're the corporate, then you have regional offices, and from there they're almost like independent contractors.
They are, yeah.
That work for the regional office. Yeah, it makes total sense. I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that. So the reason I asked, because you kept saying master, and I was like, oh, there must be some other way to go about this. And so, yeah, that makes total sense. That's really great. And so, what was your biggest like challenge over the last, for all of us in healthcare? We never had a slowdown, right? There was never, we didn't close. I work in nursing homes, hospitals, senior care. So I don't clean like, we don't clean like dentist's office, not that medical, like actual, we're doing the facility side. We never had a slowdown, where I know a lot of friends who have commercial cleaning companies, a bunch of offices closed, schools were closing, residential side, people were working from home. And so a lot of those businesses were impacted.
Yeah.
How did it impact yours?
At first it was brutal on everybody. I mean, that kind of March, April, when literally like the entire country was going into lockdowns and everything like that. I mean, we were, everything really, if I was, we were on track. We were like, oh, we're growing. 2019, we had like 20% growth. We're going like, this is going to be the best year ever.
Wow. 20%.
And then, oh yeah, we were chugging along. And then, and we were on track, everything's growing. And then middle of March, 2020, and the whole world shuts down. And there was definitely, a huge pullback. For sure. And for us, initially it was just like how we cannot over communicate during this. So it started as twice a week, and then eventually moved back to once a week, like calls with our master franchises, kind of saying, here's what we're seeing going on. Here's some additional materials we can get out your way. And here's what we are recommending, the communications you have with your unit franchisees locally. We literally during the pandemic got together kind of our best and brightest and literally wrote a manual on, we call it protection plus disinfection. That's our trademark process.
Yeah, nice.
We wrote a whole manual, a certification process on it, and made it, that was kind of, that became our focus during the pandemic. And now even kind of, I don't know if we're coming out of it or just kind of learning to live with it or whatever you call it. But now that ended up being kind of our primary focus. And it's by the end of, I want to say it was October or November of last year, our system-wide numbers were actually back above pre-pandemic levels. So it was, I mean, we offered a ton of support to our franchisees in terms of like financial breaks and royalty breaks and lots of stuff like that. We really strong armed some suppliers at that time. I think we all had to, and go like, I need these, this PPE, I need these electrostatic sprayers, I need, whatever you can get me. But it was about October or November, and we were back at kind of all-time high numbers again.
That's awesome.
I get to our holiday party and I go, boy, what a decade this last year. It was not fun. But it was honestly, it was just over communicating. Like, I mean, constant. I was definitely. I mean, we all probably took up small drinking habits during a period of life. I mean, it was just to get through the night. Because you're working till 10 o'clock, just trying to keep everyone apprised of what the heck's going on.
You really can tell the difference between a company that's going to be successful and weather things and a company that doesn't. And the companies that are successful are facing the same challenges everybody else is, but they get together and go, how do we solve this? How do we fix this? How do we support? How do we keep going? Like I have an operations manual that includes hurricanes, and I'm in the Northeast where we don't deal with a lot of hurricanes. We deal with a lot of aftermath of hurricanes, but not a lot of direct hit hurricanes.
Right.
But because there are a lot of hurricanes, you come up with an SOP on how to handle hurricanes,
Right.
And same thing for shootings. Like, we don't have shootings in nursing homes, but some buildings, some facilities, some large populated areas have shootings. And so we have a contingency for sure. But like, it's just simply born out of what's going on. And a bunch of people going, hey, maybe we should talk about this.
Right.
And all of a sudden we're taking notes. And before you know it, we're like, hey, we have a policy on a strike, how to handle a union strike, how to handle a bomb threat, how to handle somebody who's missing, how to, and I think it's just the big difference between successful, smart companies and companies that aren't so successful.
Right.
Is, you guys get, like you said, your best and your brightest in a room and go, all right, what are we doing?
Everything that our focus has been around, even in my own day to day, we go, okay, we're a franchise, and because we're that 3-tier, everything we do has to be like replicatable, duplicatable, whatever it may be.
Very easy.
If it's not something that we can duplicate, then we haven't thought this process out enough. And so we kind of attack everything from that. Like, how am I going to tell the guy who is the Houston master franchise owner and the Long Island master franchise owner what to do, so that he can also then relay that information to all his 30, 50, whatever unit franchise owners, and they all understand what to do, and then they can relay the exact procedure to their employees. I mean, that's a lot of levels along. And so if it's not like very much if it's not very structured and organized, but also KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? Like, if it doesn't fall into that, we haven't done a good enough job.
In the military, they call it polka yoke, which means dummy proof. Polka yoke. So you want to make it so that nobody gets it wrong.
Right. Right.
And McDonald's is just one of those companies that does a really good job. You can say that about all of them now, like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, whatever. But they all do it really well now. But for a long time, just imagine being part of that group, and you perhaps where you're trying to create these out of stone, these systems, these communication methodologies. Wait, how do you? Because what's interesting is there's a company up here called Dunkin' Donuts. Do you guys have Dunkin' Donuts down there? Oh, good. Okay. So Dunkin' Donuts, they started as an East Coast brand, but now they're national. But as an East Coast brand, all of their franchisors, all their stores opened at 5 a.m.
Right.
And their corporate office opened at 9 a.m. And so there would be this 4-hour window where you would have business owners, franchise owners, who unable to get their answers or questions answered and so the corporate office started opening at 5 a.m. So everybody in corporate office began to work at 5. So if you're the secretary, you're in at 5 a.m. If you're in finance or HR, you're in at 5. Everybody started at the same time the franchisor started because of that reason, which I thought is really smart and interesting. But then ask the question, what happens when they grow outside the time zone? Because now you have to be available 24/7.
Right.
And I'm not even sure how they're handling it now. But to your point, it's all about now you're making all the systems super, super easy to understand, easy to communicate, easy to follow through with. So you don't have to have that 24/7 presence, which is, again, for commercial cleaning, probably one of the biggest challenges. You find yourself working from 7 a.m. till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night because you're gaining customers, you're building your business during the day, and then you're cleaning at night and you're handling crews and you're, call outs and moving people and supplies and bringing vacuums over. And this vacuum broke and I need a belt and we're out of toilet paper.
It's exhausting sounding, right? I mean,
it really is. And what's funny is on the residential side, and I think at this point, the only thing that I haven't cleaned professionally, I've been cleaning my whole life and starting in condos and ski resorts and then cleaned houses for a while, then hotels and, then schools. My first job was actually cleaning my own high school, which is how I got the nickname, the Housekeeper, which, by the way, was not a compliment. Nothing worse than, you ever seen Breakfast Club?
Mm-hmm.
The show, The Breakfast Club movie, where he says hello to Carl. Carl's the maintenance guy. And he's like, your dad's the janitor, like your dad works here or whatever. And for some reason, he just knows the maintenance guy. Between my 8th and 9th grade of high school. So I get out of grade school at 8th grade, going into high school. That summer, I worked my first job, 15 years old. I worked in the high school as a janitor. So cleaning gum, learning how to do stripping and waxing, buffing machines, all that stuff. And so when I start high school, 9th grade, again, I'm 15 years old. Who do I know? All the janitors, Sally's cleaning the windows when I show up. She's like, "Hey, Ralph, it's your first day. It's so cool to see you." And they're like, "Your mom works here?" And they're like, I did the jet. "Oh, you're a housekeeper." So it was never a good thing. Anyway.
Yeah, my wife always gets a kick out of it when someone, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a janitor."
Yeah.
"Nice to meet you."
I truly relish, I'll even show you. This is my business card, right? Like, this is how much I've taken it. That's how far I've taken it. My business card's a toilet. That's how far I've taken it. But I've cleaned a lot of places. My only point is that, and I've been in the cleaning industry in different various aspects for a long time. And when I worked for a company cleaning houses, we would have our own supplies in our car, vacuum in the back seat. We'd get the chemicals, the whatever. And then we'd go to this guy's office. He would give us all our assignments. We'd go to the houses. But there were a couple of houses that we cleaned that asked us to use their cleaning products.
Right.
So we'd get there and they'd say, "Please use ours. This is everything you have. Here's the window cleaner. Here's the deodorizer. Here's the toilet bowl." They wanted us to use their cleaners. And I just from there kept thinking, why don't we ask everybody to provide their own favorite cleaners? Yep. Why doesn't everybody already has their own vacuum? I've never cleaned a residential house that didn't already own their own cleaning supplies, that didn't already own their own rags, didn't already have their own vacuum, yet we're bringing ours in, and it just made no sense. And so I've been doing a little bit of coaching with residential cleanings and people getting new contracts. And I say to them with peace and love, I'm like, when you get a new contract, tell them, part of the contract is you're going to provide your own supplies. If you like method cleaning products, great. Me too. Just have them on the counter. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you want us to use. We can't do that so much in commercial, though.
Right.
Because they generally don't have the space for it.
Right.
It's hard to even keep paper towels and toilet paper in their offices.
Yeah. So. At residential, I actually am seeing that more and more. And I'm not in the space personally, but adjacent enough where I know the people. And that's where it kind of is going, especially with COVID, because you go, well, I don't want a vacuum that's been in that guy's house coming into my house, or rags that were used in someone else's, some stranger's house and mine. And so now, but and now it helps, frankly, because the labor costs are just going through the roof. And so you go, look, my labor costs are going up, but now I've eliminated my supply and most of my equipment costs. I can still make for a pretty profitable business if someone's doing residential right. But yeah, and then in commercial, the only places that really, sometimes you have a janitor closet, but you're responsible for it because they don't know, oh, we use this particular kind of cleaner and it's, 1 ounce per quart of how we mix the ultra concentrate of what, I mean, God, I had, what was it? We were filming a training video and the guy was taking the concentrate bottle to fill like a glass cleaner concentrate to fill it. And he kept just squeezing it. And I'm like, what's taking so long? Why haven't we filmed the scene yet? And I walk in and here he is squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it. And I'm like, oh, you're not in the industry. You just, I'm like, you were supposed to put 2 squeezes into that bottle and fill it up with water. I'm like, that could take the paint off a car right now. Like, please do not spray that anywhere. But, I mean, at the commercial level, yeah, customers have no idea.
Yeah, they have no idea. And then there's this big push for having all of your chemicals labeled, like our company labeled chemicals, which I think is nice. Where I see that most effective as far as, I mean, why would you have your own private label cleaning chemicals for 2 reasons. One, because of the cost, right? Because you want to buy in bulk, which I understand, but also there might be like this small little marketing piece to it. Right. Like, oh, we have our own chemicals and they have these beautiful labels and on them, they have the SDS on them and all that stuff. Right. But quite honestly, nobody looks at your chemical bottles. Nobody's looking. Nobody's even noticed there's cleaning chemicals in this facility, right? Like, you don't even have. A lot of times, yeah. Times I just. No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying. A lot of times I'm looking at these extra expenses. Not a lot, but a couple of pennies. You have 1,500 accounts. That's a lot of pennies.
Right. Right.
Like, what are we doing?
We never went to the white labeling chemicals. We decided, you know what, don't go buy stuff from the dollar store, which is also something you got to combat occasionally. No, please, we don't want the lavender pine sol in here. Unless the client says that we love lavender pine sol, then okay. But I mean, we said, it's not for the amount of hassle that there is in terms of storage and trying to enforce these policies. Like, let's just get everybody using the right, proper, like commercial grade stuff and not worry about it. We've gotten creative though. I mean, you do have to do a little kind of shameless marketing occasionally. So we went around, of course, and asked any customer that was more of like a public facing customer. I have stickers with our name on like urinals and toilets and stuff like that. Cause it's like, you have a captive audience. I mean, literally, for, at least a minute. And so, just little things like that, because most people have no idea who cleans their office. Oh yeah, the cleaning girl or the cleaning guy, the janitor, but they have no idea. And so it's something that you're always having to combat is like, who cleans this place and how to make sure people know who you are.
Guerrilla marketing for cleaning companies is the name of the game. It really, really is. And I know 2 examples of guerrilla marketing that I think is super smart. One is a guy who fixes and repairs commercial laundries. And he does mostly nursing homes and hospitals who have their own commercial laundry system. And he goes in and just to meet the maintenance director. And he says, hey, I'm Ralph. I'm with, so-and-so laundry equipment. I'd love to just, give you a free assessment to somebody see your laundry equipment, see if you have anything going on. And they're more than happy to show, especially an old maintenance guy who just loves to talk, So you get out in the laundry room and they're talking. He's like, oh, this is really great. And he's looking on the back and all that. The whole time, what he's there doing is adding a sticker. He's going to put a sticker, a silver sticker. So, it looks professional like any other sticker. But it says, if needs repairs, and his phone number on it. So anytime the machine breaks, they're going to call him. I mean, it's so smart. And then I know this other company that does disaster restoration. And so they do clean up, like if you have water damage in your house, the hot water tank explodes, something like that, whatever. And they too do the same thing. They do these free assessments, but then they're always adding stickers to the hot water tank, like for any hazard cleanup, and so, my God, the water's spewing out, and they go, wait, it says right here, if there's a water leak, call this number. Who put that number there? I have no idea, but call them,
Yeah. I mean, when I bought my house, I had no idea. I didn't have, it was my my last house, actually. First time home buyer, had no idea. There's a sticker on the pool pump, and that's been my pool guy now for 8 years or something. It's phenomenal.
Exactly what I'm talking about. That's brilliant. Get your stickers out there. Make sure they're professional. Have your phone number on there.
Yeah.
We fix whatever you fix. We clean whatever you clean. Phone number. That's it.
Yep.
Super smart. Super smart. Before we go, I know we're running out of time here, but I'm curious, when you first started with Anago, is it anago.com?
AnagoCleaning.com.
Nice. AnagoCleaning.com. When you first started with them, you were doing, did you say telemarketing during the day?
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about? How'd that go?
Oh man, telemarketing takes a special person, and special I am not. It's interesting because it's still a very effective way of generating appointments, right?
It's the number one way I make money, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's by cold calling.
Yeah, we have an entire department now down in my office, 15 people, and that's on top of some of the master franchises. A lot of them have someone locally in their office, and so this is just on top of that. It still works because you have to have your website, right? Because that's your expressed interest audience. Like whoever is cleaning the office right now screwed something up, and now they're on there going, get me a new cleaning company, and you got to be there. But then a lot of it is timing, and so maybe they hadn't thought about it, but now you got them on the line, and you keep pressing, and all of a sudden they're going, yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I'd love a quote. Sure, just drop off a spare tire for me. Mm-hmm. And part of that is just that brand awareness. Like now they know you're a brand that exists in their, that can clean their area. But it was, we actually, to this day, they call it the Adam rule. It took me a month. It took me 30 days to make 10 appointments. It was bad. I was bad at it. And now that's the Adam rule is if when we make a new hire, we tell them, we go, listen, if you can't make 10 appointments in 30 days, it's just not a fit, because I could do that and I was horrible at it. So if you can't make 10 in 30 days, we're going to move on.
What was your biggest struggle? What was your biggest challenge with it?
I think, initially, it's just nerves. You're trying to, you just don't know what to say. You just kind of go.
So you guys didn't have like a script. You weren't going off of.
We had a little bit of a script, but it wasn't. I wish. In hindsight, this was 12 years ago now. Now we have scripts and trainings and all this sort of stuff we've put together. Back then, it was like you'd spend a day with one of the old ladies who had been doing it for 10 years or whatever. And you just, okay, now swim, go. Good luck.
You're free.
I got creative though. I would, instead of saying my telemarketing name was Alan Franago. And the reason it was because first of all, every time I said Adam, for some reason, people thought I said Alan. So I just was like, let's just run with this. Who cares? I don't need to correct these people. And then instead of saying Adam from Anago Cleaning Systems, and they go, okay, thanks, click. I just said Anago. And so nobody knows what the heck that means. And so sometimes now you drop a guy's first name and you say, hey, is Ralph around? It's Alan Franago. And they think I'm your friend. They think I know you. Oh yeah, my buddy, 20 years. We've been, we go back. They put me through and I go, oh, hi, it's Adam Povlitz from Anago Cleaning Systems. But it was getting past that gatekeeper.
That gatekeeper can be a nightmare, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so it was like, okay, I made a completely, fictitious identity to do it sometimes. Cause okay, you don't know how to say my name. You don't know what I do. I sound like I'm Ralph's friend. Let him through. You don't want to let Ralph's old college buddy get hung up on. Come on.
You know what? It's funny because I do mostly consulting, and my name and my business are the same. So it's Ralph Peterson, right? And so a lot of times I'll go, hi. So two things. One, nobody ever knows when I say Ralph. They're like, Paul. So I should just become Paul. That's a good call. Yes, Paul. It is. I should just change my name. But they'll always say, and who are you with? And I'll be like, crap. Ralph Peterson Consulting. But who is this? This is stupid. This is Ralph Peterson. I always feel dumb. I'm like, could you just tell him it's Ralph? Why do we have to go into who am I with?
Yeah. Well, that's why they said, that's why I use the it's Franago, but it's from Anago.
I heard from Anago.
That's the nuance. That's the magic.
Why Anago? What's the significance of that name? Is there?
So my dad.
Who is Anna, and where did he want her to go?
Yeah.
That's the question. Anago.
It's a big mystery.
Yeah.
No, my dad named it, and my grandmother is Greek. The kind of running joke is my grandmother's Greek, and my grandfather on his side is Polish. And so my dad says, I'm a little Polish, I'm a little Greek. Some people might call me a preek.
All right.
Spelled Preek, not to be confused. But I forgot the exact background, but it was like a friend was contemplating using that name, and he goes, what does it mean? And he was like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly the backstory, but he basically told his mother, my grandmother, hey, this is the name I'm thinking. And she goes, oh my gosh. In Greek, that means, is blessed by God. And turns out it doesn't mean that. And I guess her Greek translation was off, but he went with it for a very long time. And it turns out it is a Greek, kind of Greek Latin, origin, and it actually means to guide or uplift, and it does have like a spiritual kind of undertone, I guess, in its usage. And so now we kind of use that, and so it worked out well, that we use that as kind of our mantra with our franchisees, like we're here to guide or uplift them.
That is very cool. That's really great. And I think when you're trying to name a company, obviously I'm struggling, but I kind of want everything to just be by me, just my name. There's reasons for it and against it, right? But anytime you're putting together a name of a company, I think that, two things are really important. One, that it's easy to kind of get and spell and fit and all that. I would say three, actually, and it's available as a website.
Yeah.
That could be important now. And it has good meaning. It helps you tell a good backstory.
Right.
I love a good backstory. I love learning where people come from and how they go about things. And that's why I love doing the show. It's why I love meeting you today, because it's so fun to kind of go all the way back and go, where did you, how is it possible? And I think it's fun that you took 27 years before you went and helped your dad at his business.
I was always a go it alone guy. I mean, some people just, honestly, he said, honestly, the best thing, he goes, if I was going to do it again, I would have made you go get a job somewhere else. And I have two little girls. I mean, very young, like 3 years, and one that's 5, almost 6 months. I mean, very little.
Very little, yeah.
If they ever said to me, I want to get involved in the family business down the line, first I would say, exactly kind of what my dad said. You don't know anything. Literally, because what if I hired you directly out of college, all you have is a college education, and everything you know about business is what I teach you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go learn from somebody else, learn their system, learn how they think, learn what they do. And that's the benefit when you come back to the family business, is now I had, my background, I understood. We don't have a CFO at the company because I know all of it, because that's literally my background. And so there's, what is that, $100,000+ salary savings,
1,000,000%,
because I can just handle the financial stuff with a couple of accountants and a bookkeeper. I mean,
what's funny about that, about finances and how valuable it is in business, and your understanding of it, is I remember I had a friend who worked in finance for the cleaning company that I worked with. And he asked me to go on some collection calls with him. And at first I was like, heck no, that sounds like the worst idea. Like if you're going to spend a day doing anything, collecting isn't one of the things. But it was the best thing I ever did, was learn about making sales, getting paid for those sales, collecting money owed, making agreements, DSO, understanding what DSO is, understanding, how long it takes for some people to pay, what to do about it. It's the only reason why 5 years later I'm still in business, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that education, that little piece. So understanding money and finances, super, super valuable.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's something, I mean, I look at it even, and I'm kind of creative. I'm one of those people that, if we have a cash surplus, well, the banks aren't paying squat anymore on your savings account. So we just recently started saying, like, let's invest it in an actual like brokerage account and invest it and grow it. Whatever we're going to spend on like particular marketing projects or new operational things we're working on, we're going to spend. But we also think of it like we think of everything like a finance person was. So we say profit is our first line of expense. Like, what do you want to make, and then work your way backwards from there, rather than like, oh, cool, there's this much left at the end of the month. Like, no.
Such a smart way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Profit is your first expense. I love that. It's very, very smart. Very smart. Well, how can people get a hold of you? Like, what's the best way? Is it anagocleaning.com?
Yeah.
What about if I was in a different state? I'm in New York. How do I find the New York, or is there a location?
Yeah, there's a location. He's actually, I think he's anagolongisland.com, but it's all kind of built on one. I'm not smart enough on the web stuff. That's something I wish I would have studied more, but it's all built through anagocleaning.com. You can find any of our locations. We're across, almost all of the U.S. We have a few locations in Canada.
Wow, very nice.
So we're trying to grow. This year has been hard in terms of expanding our footprint. A lot of people are, stock market's at all-time highs. Unemployment, and there's all the the labor market's kind of a mess right now, and so people aren't leaving jobs right now. But on the master franchise side is where it's that's a multi-$100,000 level investment, whereas at the unit franchises, that's a phenomenal opportunity right now, and we're selling them like it's going out of style, just because people, I think last year especially, when you found out, hey, you're not essential. That word, God, the politicians using that word, it was so cutting. You're not essential because you're a bartender or a restaurant, a waiter, waitress, whatever. And all these things that were deemed not essential. And as you know, cleaning, you don't fire the janitor in the middle of the germ outbreak. So even there was definitely a rough patch, for everybody. Coming out of it, now people are going, I can't just have, Mop and Misty, some random local cleaning company that I don't know anything about. I want someone who has procedures, who has methods, who has, germ mitigation policies, and what are they going to do to disinfect my office, and all of that stuff that, that a lot of us, had to either learn or adopt in the last year. And so the unit franchise opportunity right now is booming. I mean, it's probably, we've probably sold more unit franchises in the last maybe 10 months than we did in, the year before that, a year and a half before that.
If you don't mind, I know I'm already over the time here, but can you just walk me through that? Like, so what would I have to, what kind of person or position would I have to be in right now to be one of those franchisers? Not the master, but the
master franchise, or
not the master, the unit manager, franchise.
The unit franchise, it's.
I mean, if I'm a solo person, could I just come in and what are my qualifications? What do I need to have in order to start one with you?
So a lot of it comes down to, obviously it comes down to interest, right? To get in, it's roughly around $2,500 down.
That's super inexpensive.
Very low cost. The idea is to get people in the door. Because most people, quite frankly, when they do get into commercial cleaning, nobody goes, I want to be a janitor when I grow up. Okay. It's just, that's,
unfortunately, I did, I think.
It is.
It was on page 893 of the skills assessment book. What do you want to be?
It is the reality of our industry, but it's also something where, I think it was like Wayne Huizinga or someone who said, like, successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do.
100%,
and then you have, like, companies like Waste Management, where it's like a multi-billion-dollar, empire of garbage.
My friend Casey Everson in Utah he owns a company called Bin Blasters. They clean garbage cans for residential houses.
Yeah.
I mean, there's money literally everywhere.
Yeah.
It's willing to go work for it.
But yeah, I mean, so it's inexpensive. It's like $2,500 down. I think there's another, all in, you're at like maybe like $8 to $10,000.
Not expensive.
And a lot of that's financed. And that includes like all the training. It includes, if it's an optional supply package that you can add on to that.
Love it.
And then what you're buying as a new unit franchise owner is how much business do you want to start with? And so we gauge that, right? So like if, someone comes in and it's like, how much cleaning experience do you have? None, but I want $10,000 a month. We're like, let's talk about $2,000 a month, like it, we have to gauge it because you don't want to set someone up to fail. But it's, most people buy $2,000 a month or less to start. And so you're all in is like at the high end, like 15, 18 grand. And now you have a couple $1,000s worth of revenue every month. It's guaranteed for the first year. So if you lose it or anything like that, as long as it's not like you were doing drugs or something on there, the client closes or whatever, we'll get you another account. Don't worry about it. And then,
so you even help with acquisitions.
Oh yeah. That is what the master franchise does. Is they focus totally on client acquisition.
This is a fantastic side hustle. Like, it doesn't even have to be your main job, because most of the cleaning is happening at night anyway.
Exactly.
5 p.m. till 9, 10, whatever.
Exactly. And that's what it is. It starts as so many people's side hustle, and now I have unit franchise owners. Who I have a lady that I literally just met with 2 days ago named Gloria in my market. I also own the South Florida master market. She's doing $60,000 a month. She's killing it. and all through. And how many salespeople does she have? 0.
I could use another $60,000 a month. Myself. I could use. No, that sounds so fantastic. And so it's simply maybe just an application process. You just go to the website, anagocleaning.com.
Yeah.
Say there's a franchise button, interested in franchising.
That's it.
Set up a call.
It's
super easy.
It's that simple. And obviously,
the
franchise rules where you got to give them the disclosure document, the big gigantic book and all that stuff. But it's but something you meet with someone and they walk you through all of that, depending on what. If you're in Long Island, we have an office there. If you're in San Jose, we have an office there. If you're in Detroit, we have an office there. I mean, we're literally, you just go on anagocleaning.com and it'll show you where you need to go.
Oh, so great. So great. I love everything about it. It's super smart. I think it's so, what you're offering is really the difference between trying to both, how do you come up with systems and operations and clean and provide a good service, and how do you get the accounts? You're taking both those guessworks right out of it. And you're saying, hey, if you have the time, you have the labor, you have the will, you have some discipline, some responsibility, a very low investment upfront. What a great idea. What a great business model. Really great business model.
It's a fun one for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I really loved learning. Like I said before, I'm such a big fan of how people got into this business, and it seems like you were born into it, even though you maybe took a little time.
It was baptized by fire into
baptized by fire. Yeah, I am always so, because nobody has the same story. Everybody gets here in so many different ways. I'm always just so impressed by people's journey and their willingness to learn and grow and get it wrong and keep moving forward. It's so great. And it's definitely what it sounds like your story is. So thank you.
Hey, man, my pleasure. This was fun.
Yeah, really great time. That's it for us here at the Housekeepers Podcast. Please make sure that you like and review the show. If you like the show, make sure you're telling people about the show. If you want more information about Adam Povlitz, super close. Povlitz and Anago Cleaning. Go to anagocleaning.com. All that information will be in the show notes, of course. Otherwise, that's it for Adam. I am Ralph Peterson, and